my first conversation with Andrew when I came here 11 years ago was we've got to be able to row our own boat. And then the second one going into the SRC 11 or 10 years later was, we've got to go in with our eyes open. If we're going to go into this competition, it's very different to what we've done previously, but we've got to go in and really submerge ourselves in it and be the best we can within there.
Hello everyone and welcome to the Cauldron, brought to you by Trade Centre Wales. A new season is upon us, so we thought we'd bring you a few big dogs to kick the season off. We have got the John and Casey Dutton of Aberavon Rugby. Boys, are you good?
All good, thank you.
Very good, thanks.
I've introduced you as John and Casey Dutton. I haven't actually said who we've got here. We of course have Jason Hyatt and Joe Gage, the head coach. And the head coach or director of rugby, what are you?
A mixture of both. I often get asked that with the, especially now coming up to media season and pre-season. But my role is sort of, I suppose if I fully immerse myself into the director of rugby role, I'm not going to be on the rugby field, and I like to be on the rugby field, as Gagey knows, sticking my oar in here and there. But I've got specific areas of the game that I look after, so that allows me to keep the head coach tag, but also I do all the contracts and everything at the club that comes with the director of rugby role. So in answer to your question, and my John Dutton role, with my cowboy hat on, I look after both.
And I've had to introduce you because for those people watching on the video might not recognise you after a sweet mullet has been cut in.
Very much. Thank you. Yeah, decided to make a drastic change yesterday. So, donated my hair to Princess Trust yesterday, sent it off 32 centimetres. Been growing it for 4.5 years. So, all gone to a good cause. And hopefully now I look a little bit younger to match the age demographic of our squad.
Feeling light? Feeling fast?
Feeling good, yeah. I actually did have the fastest Bronco time. So, everyone look out because I have an extra 3 kilos like that now. So, happy days.
Can you share it?
The Bronco time?
Yeah.
No. No, joking. 4.46, I think. I'm looking over there because
I thought Scott Whitlock was 4.25.
No, he had 4.50. He did. So I'm looking over to Keelan because I came over and stuck my hand up like Alan Shearer after I'd done it. So yeah.
So you've seen the lads since you've had the haircut.
I've sent a photo to a couple of them. I am show them all.
Good luck.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you.
Let's talk a bit of rugby then, because Super Rygbi Cymru coming into the second season. What did we learn in the first season from a coaching perspective first?
I think we learned a lot about the new SRC structure and what it stands for. I think we learned a lot about ourselves as coaches because we had to adapt. We were at an average age last year of 23. So it was really good for the coaching group. We had to adapt our coaching delivery and style, and I think that was really successful. But more importantly, I'm really excited to take in this group of players, sprinkled now with obviously new signings coming in, going into the second year of SRC rugby. Last year we finished in the top 6, which was an exceptional achievement. A relatively new coaching group, or new members in the coaching group. Obviously, Mark Breeze moving on mid-season into his new Wills role, and obviously 22 new signings, which was unprecedented, and I think a lot of pundits wrote us off, which I love, reading some of the comments, but I really believed in the squad, and the youngsters that we brought in were first and foremost quality people and great rugby players. So that growth that they would have learned last year in that first year of SRC rugby, we've already seen the benefits of that this summer. Training and the environment is buzzing. We've introduced some new sort of techniques to keep the positivity in there. And I'm just really excited with these players a year more mentally developed, physically developed. And as I said, we're seeing that in pre-season. So really, really looking forward to take those learnings into the new SRC season.
From a player's perspective, then, how was that SRC season compared to the Indigo Premiership seasons before that?
I think it's a lot faster, certainly a lot faster. I think just the natural age demographic, squad size sort of, the age went down drastically on majority of sides, us being 23. So I think boys are fitter, more energy. I'm not sure about the ball in play time, but it certainly felt from my perspective, being 28 last year, it was certainly quite faster. But I think from my perspective, really, really enjoyed it. I think we had 70 to 80% of our squad drastically change, as Jason mentioned, with the signings. So it was a chance to sort of grow, almost carve out the new identity with new coaches, new players. And this season now we've obviously re-signed and retained a lot of those boys, added with some new signings as well to help us push forward.
You mentioned the average age being 23 last season. Am I right in thinking you've potentially brought that down this season again?
Yeah, we have. The average age this year is 22. So we've had a couple of players move on, finish and whatnot. So, the 11 players we've signed predominantly have been involved in the age grade game, under 18s, under 19s, Wales under 18s and 19s. Again, great people. I spent a lot of time before inviting anybody into the Aberavon culture and environment, just checking and making sure they're gonna fit well and they're gonna enjoy it as well. It's really important they're the right sort of character to buy into our ethos and mentality around training and our work culture. But it has gone down a year this year, so the average age is 22, and that's even more exciting. The way the guys train, the workload we throw in at them, they're just lapping it up and coming back for more. And you've got to remember last year we had horrendous injuries as well. I think at one point I used to get nervous walking into the medical room, and Brian Downey would have all the injuries up on the wall, and it was 14 up there at one point, and some pretty serious ones. Rowan Jenkins obviously had a career-ending injury in Bridgend with a nasty hamstring injury. But there was 14 players injured, and I think at one point 11 of those were frontline players. So that makes the fact that we finished in the top 6 all the more impressive. I think the youngsters really bought into it and forged out a sort of a new identity, and that sort of guided us going into this summer with the planning, and the thought that's gone in behind it has just sort of paid dividends to the work they put in last year. It's been exceptional.
So you're captain. Is it you're about to go into your third season?
Third season, yeah.
At
29.
Oh boy, in this team now.
Yeah. I think it's only me, Shay Smallman, Geraint James. I think they're floating around that age. So hence why I've had to cut my hair to make myself look a little bit younger to fit in with all the boys.
But where do you see your rugby going then? Because you're captain of this team, and 29, you're in your prime really. But with the age group being as young as it is, the average age 22, a lot of boys coming out of that academy rugby into this really exciting environment. Surely you must think, I've got 5-6 years left. They're not going to be shooing you out of the door, are they, once you hit 30?
I don't know. I think that's a conversation Jason has on you and me. But no, I think it's an exciting time. The boys that we've brought in have made great impact. When I was here when I was 19, 20 years of age, there was boys over the age of 30. It was about 10, 15 boys that were starting 15, all around that age. And Jason did make a conscious effort in starting and bleeding those youngsters. We've obviously got a larger cohort of youngsters now, and then that age gap. But no, it's really exciting time. I think Jason's linked in with Alistair Rogers has come in as well, and has done a great job in sort of challenging me on how to motivate players and focus on my game and just try a different leadership style, because I think the leadership and what got boys to listen 10 years ago when I started playing for Aberavon is completely different, and that intrinsic motivation and that external motivation is slightly different.
Let's talk about the squad then, and I'd like to move on to the players that you brought in from various areas, but I'd like to start with the local boys, the Neath Port Talbot boys, and how important it is to have that local identity as part of Aberavon.
It's vital, but at the same time, I don't want to sound like, we're more than happy to cast our net wide and far. We want the right sort of people to come into Aberavon. Talent isn't enough. We talk about that all the time. You could be the most talented player in the world, talented coach. That's not enough. You've got to have the right character and the characteristics. Rugby's a brutal sport, or professional sport is. Even though we are sort of semi-pro, we try to act as professional as we can, certainly around the rugby environment. So looking at local talent is easier in many ways, because obviously we're trying to build relationships with all the local clubs. So, that's something we're working hard on this year to improve, something we've got to get better at. But obviously through those conversations then come local guys. So Scott Whitlock, I remember 2 years ago, Scott asked if he could train with Aberavon. We invited Scott in to train with us, and then the season after he signed a professional contract with the Ospreys. So, my honest opinion is some coaches are a little bit snobby around it. They want players that have come through the academy setup and 18s, 19s. I'll invite anyone in with a recommendation because it costs us nothing to invite someone in, and then we can carry out our own assessment. Scott is a great story. Obviously, going back to Jack Morgan was another great story going back in the day where, Jack was looking for a club. So I think, it's for us to make those opinions, and we're very proud to have brought some local guys in. Brindley Thomas, we blooded last year. He's a huge guy. He's only 19. His stats in the gym are ridiculous. He's learning to play second row. So, we're working with as many local players as we can, bringing them in, blooding them, seeing what they're like in our environment. And what's really important as well, they've got to buy into our environment. So for us to get the best out of them, they've got to feel comfortable where we are. And as Gage mentioned earlier, the leadership group this year has been put together, and it's quite unique. We've challenged it this year to be far more strategically based, not so much looking after culture and environment issues, but purely focused on what takes place on the field and how do we transmit those messages. Alistair Rogers, Gage mentioned Alistair earlier. Alistair played for Aberavon back in the day. He's had two World Cup winning campaigns with the All Blacks, Japan, obviously played in New Zealand and Western Samoa, coached. Huge amount of experience. It's been great having Alistair there, just sort of looking in the background, new set of eyes, and he's been quite instrumental with the leadership group as well. So really looking forward to that.
Can you tell us who the leadership group is, or is that one of those things you've got to keep a secret?
No, it's so up front we've got Rhys Thomas, Geraint James and Shay Smallman, and behind we've got Ellis Hogan, we've got Keelan Cullen, we've got Joe Gage and Brad Roderick. So leaders on the field, obviously great characters, experience. We've talked about as well, blooding new youngsters in. So people like Charlie Thomas, who quite instrumental at 10, they will be invited into the leadership meetings with the coaches and sort of brought on throughout the season to give them a real good insight into what goes on behind the scenes in these meetings.
So it is a long-term plan then. This isn't something you're going game at a time or season at a time. You are looking to put a situation in place where this culture of Aberavon remains, if not where it is, then even further up the ladder.
Yeah, I think so. The boys that we've signed on from last year have made a great impact in driving standards anyway. From a culture point of view, I think we're looking long term, and then from a playing point of view, we're very much staying present and taking it game by game and focusing on that. So that I think we've got that good balance where the coaches are driving what that longevity looks like and a sustainable plan. I don't think, and Jason, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think that we've signed a single player thinking that he's going to be here for a year. We're signing them on the basis that they're going to be here for 5 to 10 seasons and proper bleed that blood and black for us.
Well, can we talk about some of these players then? Because I have been sent a list by Swank. I have been told that it is an incomplete list. But you've have you got your book with you?
Yeah.
Still writes in pencil, mate. Properly old school, you know.
Is it Swank?
No.
Oh, Jason.
Jace. Oh no, sorry. It is. He's just got a very light touch with a Bic, so it looks like a pencil. That's what
I've always had a light touch.
So you've covered everything here from front row centres, scrum halves. You've signed a heavy point scoring outside half who we need to talk nicely about because he sat just behind the camera.
Yeah.
But yeah, talk to me about some of these players, what you see in them, and a little bit more detail on what you think that they can bring.
Yeah. So up front, we've front row is really important, and we can only sign 32 players. So firstly, what is really important to talk about the budget, because last year we had a budget of 150k from the Welsh Rugby Union. This year it's 160. It's been increased by 10. When all the clubs entered into the SRC competition, we signed a contract. I had to sign it as director of rugby. Andrew as owner. The clubs all bought into the fact that we were going to use the budget of 150k. We're very proud last year that we came in on budget, and this year we're also going to come in on budget on 160. So, that's for the Welsh Rugby Union to police, and I would hope that everybody takes that really seriously because it's part of the fabric of the SRC. We're trying to grow this competition into something special, and I think with what's going on in the wider world of Welsh rugby, you can see how important getting this competition right is. So having that budget and being able to stick to that budget is instrumental in the building blocks. And I've had long conversations with John Alder and John Neal, surrounding this, and that's something we're really proud of. We've gone into the SRC with our eyes wide open, understood what we need out of the SRC, and more importantly, what we can bring to it. And with that, obviously, the signings are sort of based around that. So we've got to grow our own talent. We haven't got the budget to go and spend thousands of pounds on a player that's ready made. We've got to develop, get the right people on board.
You spent thousands of pounds on Keelan, though, didn't we?
No, we didn't.
So that extra 10 grand, right? Straight away.
We put a Gagey would be part of this. We put our pay structure together, and I involved Joe because we had to make some really tough decisions coming out of the Welsh Premiership, where there wasn't a strict budget to adhere to. It wasn't part of the contract of the SRC. Then we had to adhere to this contract, and I involved Joe in my ideas for putting the pay structure together, and we still stick to that same pay structure where we got an entry level, we got a senior player, and then we've got what we consider to be an elite player within the group. That's the senior contract, which all the players that are in that bracket are paid, including Keelan. So, just put you straight on that. So up front, we've brought in Freddie Chapman, who's played for Ospreys Academy for a number of years. Big guy, Essex. Met him and his dad in the summer. Really interesting character. His dad owns a football club up in Essex.
Wow.
I can't remember. I'm not into football, so it just went like that.
Because he was a Saracens youngster as well, wasn't he?
Yes,
And then came down and done well with the 20s too.
Yeah, really. We've seen him he's working on his conditioning. That's one of his main work-ons. But carrying ball, he's really aggressive. He's a nice character as well. He adds a lot of energy to the group. We've signed Jaden Maybank. It's a funny story. I came across Jaden when I was in the gym. I think he thought I was stalking him or something. Because I went over and asked him, did he play tight end? And he's a quiet character anyway. He moved his fringe out of the way, and I think he thought it was a weirdo. But we've managed to get him on board. He's Will's 18s, Ospreys Academy. He's a very, very destructive scrummager, and I think he's going to be a cracking player. He's one of them that I get quite excited about how far we can push him in the game. George Merritt, we've signed, who's come through Gloucester Academy and played obviously Bucks Rugby, which no doubt we'll go on to later with the importance of Bucks Rugby and how it shapes us. Charlie Herdman played for Swansea Uni last year, and that's all we've signed up front. So we've added significantly to the front row. Ellis Major has gone travelling in Australia and he's decided to stay out there for a year with his girlfriend, which great experience for him. So that meant we needed another hooker on board with experience. So that's what we've signed up front, and it's a nice mix as well.
Yeah, it certainly is, and boys from all kinds of backgrounds there, which is something that we've alluded to before.
Yeah.
With regards to your props, then you mentioned Jaden there and Freddie as well. How important do you think a league like this is in getting young props game time? Because it's such a tough position for a young player to play senior rugby, isn't it?
It's vital. We've got Geraint James at tight end, who a couple of years ago played for Cardiff Blues in against Toulon, I think it was, Gagey, wasn't it? And Rowan. Toulouse, sorry.
That
period where they were struggling.
And Harlequins. And
that's right.
Everyone in.
So they pulled those two guys in, and they did really well. And there's no doubt Geraint is the most destructive scrummaging tight end in the SRC and the old Premiership. And his influence on Jaden will be enormous. Just watching the sessions, all our sessions are filmed. We introduced Will. Have you come across Will Kosh? He used to do the analysis, filming for Cardiff Uni. So Will is on board with us as of last week. So all our sessions are filmed, put onto Huddle, and then Jaden can look at sort of, with a bird's eye view with the cameras and the drones and whatever, his scrummaging technique. So I think having those senior players, not just Geraint James, Luke Davies at hooker, they are going to help really grow those young players. Jaden will learn a tremendous amount from playing with Geraint. So I think it's vital that we get that mix right. You can't just stick 4 young tight ends in a group. You've got to have some experience in there and some sort of leadership from that as well. Some mentors. And Geraint is really good at it. He's having a great summer. It's probably going to be his last year in this level of rugby, and I think he wants to go out with a real reputation.
Okay, that's the forwards.
Yeah.
Who have you signed in the backs? Who's trying to take Gage's shirt?
Sam Matthews, certainly. Good youngster from Tondi. I believe. Coached him when I was coaching the Ospreys 16s East. Versatile player, was playing 15 and centre. Now was sort of committed to playing centre. Bit of a wrecking ball that can also step you in a post box. So he's really, really good. Hands are extremely slick as well. And then we got Ethan Williams, who will probably certainly take my position because he runs a lot harder than me. In fairness to him, got great skills, come from Bristol Bears Academy, and has done a lot of work and competed at the highest level and just missed out on Wales 18 selection. So yeah, really, really strong sort of direct gain line carrier, which is great. And then Noah, another boy that myself and Nick White actually coached in the Ospreys 16s West, just absolutely elusive, fast, just give him the ball with space. He's a bit like Corey Lewis-Jenkins on the other side as well, so both similar wingers in a sense. Really improved on his sort of hand-eye coordination as well. His skills are coming along. He's taking high balls a lot more confidently as well. So and he's also a qualified South African as well. So which is an interesting one. So, and you can see that when he takes his top off, in fairness to him. So
to be fair, you've had a Welsh international and a British and Irish Lion come through. If you have a Springbok come through, that really would be something, wouldn't it? And you've also signed a Caelan Carson and a Keelan Cullen. And from a commentary perspective, I'd just like to say thanks, lads. Thanks a bunch. Both halfbacks as well. Superb.
Yeah. From a coach's perspective, as we were talking about earlier, I've got a reputation for getting names wrong, and it's I just can't get away from it. It's, I don't know if it's an age thing but I've always been bad with names anyway. So, but it's definitely getting worse as I get older. So our physio now is one of our physio and massage guys is Jack John. I called him John. And it's stuck now. So John Jones, so I got it wrong then. It's not Jack John, it's Jack Jones. So Keelan, it's spelled slightly differently. So so I'll let you guys get on.
I don't get any problems with that name, Caelan and Keelan.
Well, wait till you're 56, mate.
Yeah. But Caelan comes from sort of born of mine, been through the 16s and 18s setup with the Ospreys. Myself and Nick White actually coached him in 16s West as well. He's a very confident player, very boisterous, wants to take the ball on, similar to all nines really, and wants to take the world on. So, he'll add a lot of sort of flair and attacking flair to our game. And then obviously we got the top point scorer in Bucks last season, Keelan Cullen, who's blushing in the corner over there. But the strike rate off the boot is absolutely insane. We were doing kicking drills a couple of weeks ago, and I stuck my hand out 40 metres away, and we were sort of doing low goalkeeping kicks, just playing about. I said, if you can hit my hand, I will get you anything you want. And the ball came across 40 metres straight to my hand, and I moved the hand up the way because I was like, oh my God, he just hit it right on the spot. So, incredibly skillful, and probably for someone so young, I've never seen such a sort of mature 10. Obviously, we've had Dan Edwards come through the ranks, but he was a bit like a Richie Mwanga where he could just take people on all the time. Keelan's more of a pull the strings and a puppet master. So,
So those are the players that you've signed. It's all incredibly exciting stuff. You look like you come in with some extra detail on that there.
Yeah, I think going back to Keelan, I think it's really important we attract the right sort of player and someone that's going to develop those youngsters. We've got Charlie Thomas at 10. We've seen Charlie's ability at the end of last year with good wins back-to-back against Pontypool and Ebbowvale. Great rugby player, and I think the inclusion in some of the leadership stuff would be really good for Charlie because he's at that stage of his personal development. But I think Keelan, when we met probably, I don't know, 2 or 3 times before Keelan actually chose Aberavon. As I said to you earlier, the reason Keelan's come here is to hopefully develop into a professional rugby player. So Keelan and Gwilym Evans this year have been invited into the Ospreys environment and have been training with the Ospreys on a full-time basis, 5 days a week from the start of the season. And that's just music to my ears. We got young guys that want to follow in the footsteps of Keelan and Gwilym. And get those opportunities with the regions and pro clubs, and I think that's superb. Keelan, as Gagey mentioned, probably since Jamie Davies has been playing with the club, we've never had a 90% goal kicker. He doesn't miss kicks. He's the highest points scorer ever in Bucks Super Rugby. So, we've signed someone there with real ability and someone that's going to help develop our environment. And, we've always said it's nice to win games, it's nice to win trophies. That takes care of itself. That's something that's relatively outside of our control. But the type of people we attract is definitely in our control. So we're really, really happy that Keelan's on board. Plus, he's a Bonnie Mine boy as well. And to play up there on top of the mountain, you've got to have something about you.
Yeah, you certainly have. Just hearing you talk about boys that you've coached there and Nick as well, and knowing Swank as I do, and he's got his eye across Bucks Super Rugby. You've got eyes absolutely everywhere in terms of bringing that talent in. But I suppose you guys really, you've got to be ambassadors for Aberavon as well, haven't you? Because it's all well and good coaching these players and then maybe putting an arm around them and said, have you considered coming? But they need to look at you and say, well, yeah, that's a guy I want to be a teammate of, or I want to be coached by, or an environment I want to be in.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the boys that have played for Aberavon over the last 3 to 4 seasons are very good role models, look after themselves, very sort of social on and off the pitch. I think we've got good energy around the squad. So, anyone that we're speaking to that I know Jason may have his eyes on is, that conversation does generally go into, what's the club like and what's the boys like, and all in all, everyone is welcoming. I don't have a bad word to say about anyone, maybe besides Frankie, who paints his nails. But other than that, the rest of them are great characters and great role models, hardworking, and just want to do best for themselves and for the team.
I tell you what, who else is it painted? What's the lad who plays on the wing for Leicester Tigers. Mate, if he can score as many tries at Castle College, he can play whatever he wants.
I think that's what he started doing now. He started because he's got the same haircut as him as well. Yeah.
He's a massive Harry Potter fan, Frankie is.
Is he?
So, yeah, he's done a disappearing act this summer, in fairness to him. So,
well, we'll have to get him on the Cauldron because that's magic, isn't it?
Brilliant.
Let's talk the season then, because 6th place last year, and also style of play as well, because I think I was at your I think it was your penultimate home game that helped get you to the top 6 when it looked like you were completely in control. Then Ed Dunford goes for a drop goal, gets charged down, and they nearly go the length and lose.
And it was Rodri Cole who left us the year before who picked the ball up. And I was just watching it unfold, and it was one of those games. We lost games last year. I think I'm probably right in saying that we only really got put away by Cardiff up in Cardiff. Every other game was in the mix. We could have won. We could have easily been in the top 2. But they were just. That's a perfect example. Newport at home. Last play of the game, we give a penalty away at the line. Sorry, we lost the line out. Give a penalty away to contact area. Then we defending a driving line out. At that point, there's 1 minute left on the clock, and we're in front. And you could count that through several of the games last year. But on a positive note, those are really important learning lessons for the players. So we talked about Keelan earlier, having that little bit of leadership in that area. It was one of the questions I asked Keelan when we met. I run him through that scenario, and I said, what would you have done in that position from that line out? I think he would have called the line out. He would have dictated where he went, So just having that leadership, and those players will grow from that, and there were some painful experiences. But on the plus side, those learnings are all going to serve us really well this year. And you've got to remember, some of these boys, 18, 19, really young. We sign in players, and, they're not 18 till August, some of them. So, we're really mindful of the fact that you've got to give them those lessons and let them learn.
So you're willing to accept that then? There will be moments in the season you have to give lads the opportunity to fail?
Yeah, I think that's rugby. And the nature of the SRC with the age demographic being so sort of young now. I think the stat was what Jason was referring to. I think we lost 8 games last year within the last 10 minutes.
Yeah,
7 points. So it's one of those that the boys that we have retained now that have got an extra year of experience knows how we win, how we should win, how we should close games out, and we're doing a lot of scenario based stuff in training now that sort of mimics that and can transition onto the pitch.
So if you're 3 points ahead with 2 minutes to go, you don't go for the drop goal. Is that?
No, absolutely not. No. Pick and go.
Yeah, bad, very bad for the coaches and their hearts. But But I think going back to your question, it's all about, Gagey's covered it there. allowing players to learn and making it fun and exciting. It's we don't get on a roller coaster to get off feeling more relaxed. You get on a roller coaster to be excited, and obviously to be at times it's terrifying. But I think we've got the environment at the moment. I've never known it like this year. It's really nice. We as I said, we've put some new techniques in that are really getting the guys laughing before we start training, and then we finish on a high. And we were talking about it as a coaching group last week, and I've never known us to put you come off. Sometimes you have a quality session, and then the next one's okay for whatever reason, weather, personnel, but we're having consistent sessions that are really high quality, and I think probably a lot of it is due to the fact that a lot of the young guys are on their second season and are far more advanced in terms of learning and what they've taken on board. But I also think the main part of it is the right characters. We got some real good guys. You've got, as you mentioned, Frankie like painting his nails, and there's no sort of cliques within our sort of group. It's we're all in it together. We got an afternoon now supporting Touched by Cancer at the club. Boys are dressing up in fancy dress, and we're all getting stuck into that. So everyone's looking forward to it. So it's a nice environment at the moment, but also it's quite a brutal environment that doesn't take prisoners if that sort of sits together.
You boys should have done John and Casey Dutton and rode in on horses with cowboy hats.
Yeah. I think Jason's won the fancy dress, in fairness.
Okay.
So, yeah.
In fairness, my wife put my fancy. I haven't got a clue with fancy dress, and I take a leaf out of Gage's book. I'm really tight, so I didn't want to spend any. Gagey told me he bought his off. Vinted was it? Yeah. So my wife put mine together, but yeah, she has done a good job, and it'll be a bit of fun.
Okay, so what does a good season look like? And if Frankie scores a hat trick in the first game of the season, will you all paint your nails for the next game?
Absolutely. I think we're in a club, like Jason said, but I think we're happy to express ourselves. So obviously me with a drastic haircut now that the boys will no doubt banter me for the next couple of months. But then you've got Frankie, and then you've got others that just sort of express themselves in different ways, and we're comfortable with that, and we're happy to go forward. Do you want to answer the question around successful season?
I think a successful season for me, last year was a successful season. I think you've got to work within the guidelines you've been given. I think that's very, from putting my sort of director of rugby hat on, if you're going to develop as a coach and we've got young coaches working with in the SRC who want to develop. If you can't manage a budget at SRC level, you've got no chance of doing it at senior level. And we want to win trophies. We want to be successful by sticking into those guidelines. Is really important for us. Aberavon John, when we first went into the SRC, I think my first conversation with Andrew when I came here 11 years ago was we've got to be able to row our own boat. And then the second one going into the SRC 11 or 10 years later was, we've got to go in with our eyes open. If we're going to go into this competition, it's very different to what we've done previously, but we've got to go in and really submerge ourselves in it and be the best we can within there, and we've done that. So for me, successful season, obviously we'd love to win silverware. We've got a really ambitious group, but a successful season for me is just developing players and players enjoying being in that environment. And I don't want that to sound wishy-washy. It's really important. We spend a lot of time at the club and away from families and whatever. We're very lucky with the support we get at the club. It's a great vibe there on a Saturday. But for me, it's just the boys enjoying themselves and as Gage mentioned earlier, talking highly about their environment. And those are the guys that run that. We can shape it as coaches, but it all comes, as Gage said, intrinsic motivation. That comes from the players.
That's a good director of rugby answer, that, isn't it? Very good. Right, that is just about the end of episode 1 of the new season. Anything else either of you would like to add?
No, just for the home support, hopefully to travel away with us to Aberavon in the first game, and hopefully we get to obtain the shield in the first game. So, should be a good one.
Big game to start with.
Yeah, back Gage up on that. I think the support, when you hear the Avon chant and the boys are playing well, it all mixes in, and we're lucky. We got some great supporters there in the background, and I think we're going to involve, it's the club's 150th centenary a year after, not this season coming. So that's something Gage is talking about, involving the supporters in maybe sorting a tour out at the end of that season, something nice, you know, for the 150 years with the history that Aberavon have got is phenomenal. And I think that should be celebrated, you know, with some key games and whatever. So hopefully the supporters can have a really good year this year come in, and obviously take that into next year then.
Lots to look forward to. Right, I need to say goodbye. Do you want to sing the sponsor song before we...
Yeah, no problem. Trade Centre Wales, we got the car for you.
Thank you to Trade Centre Wales. This has been The Cauldron, and we'll see you next time.